All right. Well, welcome back. Another episode of Between Sundays at the Lake. We're going through our series of how to be or what it means to be a godly man, and we certainly need more of those nowadays. But we're going through those. We were just sitting here talking and just kind of talking about what we used to do as kids and what the things that we did when we were growing up. We probably shouldn't be here. We probably should have died several times.
This podcast would not be a thing.
Yes, certainly not.
If anything, this podcast is a show of God's grace and mercy in our lives.
God's, then we'll get there in a minute, by God's protection on our lives for sure. We're just kind of talking through a bunch of stuff and just kind of talking about it, and it's interesting how differently people grew up, and I guess we kind of represent probably three different generations, kind of, I guess.
Yeah.
And three different decades anyway.
Geographical upbringings.
Yeah.
I was like, you and I are 2 years apart.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, I'm the old guy, and I grew up in the woods, so it was pretty. Carl was talking about how him and his friends used to go there, and I'm like, there wasn't anybody around where I grew up. It was just me. Mm-hmm. I was running around reenacting Rambo by myself.
So we had places to go and people to do it with. You were kind of nowhere to go and nobody to go with.
No, not really. I had plenty of places to go, just there wasn't anything there.
Well, places are just areas.
areas.
Yeah. It was still all woods.
Yeah, it was all woods.
It wasn't just a different area in the same place.
Yeah, well, I had friends that were snakes and friends that were birds, and I had all those things. So, but no, we were just kind of talking about, and it's interesting how God brings different people together to do the same thing. So, but no, we're going to go ahead and jump right in to our next couple today, on the next couple characteristics on what it means to be a godly man. If you remember on the last episode, the first thing we did was talked about what it doesn't mean, or I guess characteristics that don't necessarily make you a man.
Define you, yeah.
Yeah, they don't define you as a man. And then we talked about what it means to be present. So today we're going to go ahead and jump off into this first one here. This first characteristic we'll talk about today is being a provider. Now, here's what I know just happened. When I said that word, every person immediately went to financially providing.
Yes. Yeah,
like
every person, I guarantee you the first thing.
Homemaker and a homemaker.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And that is not that is a part of it. Don't get me wrong. That is a part of it, because we do need to provide for our families. But it's more than just a financial provision. And we are supposed to, as men. I thought about this the other day when I was thinking about all these things. What our children see, especially our children, what we're supposed to represent is what we're supposed to be as men is an earthly representation of who God is. Mm-hmm. And God is our provider. God is always present, but He's our provider, and He doesn't. And it's not always financially. Mm-hmm. That's obviously a part of it, but that's not all it is. It's more than that, much more than that. But we need to provide, as men we're called to provide, and Karl has the same verse written down that I do, so I'll let Karl read it out of 1 Timothy 5:8, and this is what the scriptures say about providing.
If anyone does not provide for his relatives, and especially for his immediate family, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever.
Pretty plain.
Yeah.
not a lot of interpretation there.
It's also pretty heavy.
Well, and there's arguments about the anyone, but then like Zeb said, it goes on to say his immediate. So.
Yeah, and I think that it's the anyone there, because here's the other side of it. While we as men are we're supposed to be the providers. That's if our wife isn't able to to do whatever it is, we're supposed to do that.
Step in
and do that. But don't get me wrong. I think when it says anyone, I think it's talking about parents in general as well. Like anyone that is able to provide should provide. But we are to make sure that our families are provided for, and even more back. If you go back to biblical times, even more then, because women didn't own anything. They couldn't. They weren't allowed to own anything. They were. I mean, honestly, in most cultures back then, women were looked at as property. Not even, unfortunately, that's the way they were looked at. But back in those days, the men provided everything. And not only did they provide everything for their immediate family, if their father passed away or their brother passed away, now they were also responsible for the rest of that family.
Yeah, siblings.
For the siblings family and those things. So, but it's not just we're not called to just provide financially, because if that's all it was, that's easy.
Yeah.
But it's more than that. To be a godly man, you got to be willing to provide more than just finances. You got to be able to provide support. You got to be able to provide spiritual guidance, and especially spiritual counsel, spiritual wisdom.
Well, I think the strain nowadays, in a lot of cases, the strain that it would put for one provider, as in a money provider for the family, being the man, I think puts so much strain and weight on the shoulders of that individual. The other things that need to be provided for kind of lack, or can be overseen or lacked, because of just the incredible
emphasis put on it.
Yeah, and the incredible weight that carries of having to do that.
Yeah.
Knowing that it's all riding on your shoulders.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing I've had, and whatever you and your family decide is best for you, that's fine.
And some can, juggle that.
And you can,
make it work.
but I don't like to tell people. It gets, I don't know how to say it. It gets on my nerves when people say, "Well, your wife shouldn't work." Well, I wish I had a job where my wife didn't need to work. It's very difficult in these days and these times to do that. Now, you can, and if you feel like your wife, that's go for it. But my wife has a job. She's a teacher. She loves her job. But if she came to me and said, "I'm not doing this anymore," we would figure it out.
Yeah.
But don't look down on me because my wife works and say I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And that's whatever your family decides in your family, then do that, and that's okay. There's no problem with that.
Yeah. And sometimes things need to happen out of necessity too. Like when me and Jen were still dating, we were talking about just like our hopes and aspirations for married life and what we'd like and all these different things, and we had come to a place where what we both desired was for me to work and for her to be home with kids. Like that's what we wanted. That's what we saw.
Right.
I saw my grandparents do that. She saw her parents do that, and like that was what we wanted to be able to do. Fast forward, she works and I work. Like it's just circumstantial. You got to do what you got to do for the health of your family.
Yeah, which mind you, staying home with the kids is
Also a full-time job.
Is
Right.
not working. That's just working at home.
But the luxury of the financial situation,
Right.
we live in a time where it's very difficult.
Sure.
Not
to
that
have
it can't be
the
done,
dream,
not that
quote,
God
unquote.
won't provide it, but it is much easier when both parties work. But if your family has decided that that one of you, and listen, I know people who the husband stays home and the wife goes to work because she makes so much more money than he does. Hey, whatever. And that's the thing. So let's not limit this provider thing to only finances,
Right?
Because it is so much more than
Yeah,
that.
and there's so many different situations that surround that.
Yeah, for sure. And even in that verse that Karl just read out of 1 Timothy, it's go ahead and read it again real quick, Karl, while I find it real quick.
It's 5:8. If anyone does not provide for his relatives, and especially for his immediate family, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever.
Yeah, so I want you to notice what it doesn't say in there. It doesn't say anybody that doesn't provide financially for his family. It's talking about in general. It's talking about the whole thing. Again, it's one of those, finances are part of it, and that's certainly part of it, but it's not all of it. Because, I mean, there's plenty of people, we talked about it before, there's a big difference between a father and a dad, right? There's a lot of fathers that provide financially for their children, but they're not present.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, they're not. So which one do you think that kid would rather have?
Yeah.
A dad that
Is there.
and is at the baseball games and is at dinner and is at those things, or a dad that he or she never gets to see,
Yeah.
but I've got a nice house and I've got a car and I've got a, you know, that may be cool for a while, but eventually that kid's going to be want their dad.
Yeah,
You know what
and
I
I
mean?
hear so many stories from the elders that say, you know, I used to work until the sun was down. I'd come home at 8:30. Everybody had eaten, showers were done, homework was done, kids were in bed, and I had like a split second to just say goodnight to them, and how if they could have done it all differently, they would have much rather spent the time. You know, money comes, money goes, kind of thing.
Well, and we've all
the time
had
with your
those
kids
times.
is limited.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've all had those times. We all have those times where that's what we do.
Yeah.
Because those moments come, and then, you know, you just got to do what you got to
Sure,
do in the
you make
moment.
it happen.
But it's the rare moment.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
the
It's not
Monday through
consistent.
Friday.
Yeah.
It's the and part of it is our culture, you know, especially in American culture, that you know the I don't know who coined the phrase, but he who has the most toys wins.
Oh yeah.
You know, like no, I love the I don't remember who said this either, but I remember seeing it on a Christian T-shirt a long time ago. He who dies with the most toys still dies.
That's a good shirt.
The reality of
shirt.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, but in our culture, in our society, you know, it's he who has the most toys wins, and that's unfortunately, you can provide all those toys, you can provide all those finances, but if you don't provide everything else, the wisdom and the nurturing and the spiritual guidance and those things, if you don't provide those things, you haven't fulfilled your godly duty as a parent, as a father, as a man.
Yeah. Well, like my mind goes to, I guess to like offshoot the point, like you're also providing an example too for your kids. We talked about that a little bit in the last episode too.
Mm-hmm.
But like my mind goes to, I don't remember the name of the song, but it's like the cat's in the cradle with the silver spoon, little boy blue and the man in the moon. Like the whole point of the song is that the dad did just what we described, worked from sun up to sundown, never saw their kids, and his son became exactly like him because that was the example that was put before him.
Exemplified, yeah.
So like we're providing not only, you know, like the guidance, but we're also providing the example of what you want your kids to become. You know, if you think forward in the future, like, man, I don't want my kid to be like this, don't be like it.
Yeah.
You're the reason why they turn out like that.
Yeah, that's
like,
a good gauge.
Help be the
It's
accountability for yourself at that point too.
You can't say do as I say, not as I do, because
Right.
they're going to do as you do.
Exactly. Especially because most people learn by watching than they do by hearing.
Oh yeah,
So I mean, like,
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. You know, and in the commentary here in that verse, 1 Timothy 5:8, Dr. Evans in his commentary, he wrote this. I think it's good to read. It says, "Men are to reflect the fatherhood of God. A man who will not take care of his wife and his children lies about what God is like." Like, so if you're not, and it says take care of. He doesn't say financially take care of. Just in general, take care of.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into taking care.
Because, you know, again, that even goes back to what we had talked about in the last episode, of, you know, you go to some of these third world countries and where they have nothing, they don't have any way to financially have everything, but they can still provide for their family what their family needs. It's not that you need to provide an abundance for you, and that's where we get caught up in our Western culture.
Yeah, an abundance.
Yeah, we need to provide an abundance.
And what we want.
Yeah, and that's the difference. But we need to. There's so much more that our young people and our society and our families need other than just financial provision.
Yeah.
I've never met anybody who said, "Well, I wish I'd have spent more time at work."
Right.
I've never met anybody that's that's dying that says, "Oh, I sure wish I wish I'd have spent less time with my family."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. If I could have clocked in another 10 hours, it would have been so much better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, just got that extra overtime.
I know.
that one,
I know.
and you know, I'm still mad about the 20 years ago when somebody else got the overtime shift and I didn't get it.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever said that.
No.
99% of people say, "I wish I would have either spent more time with my family." And that's the thing, is you need to provide time.
Yeah.
Right, especially with your family. One of the things that I always tell any of the couples that I'm marrying And it was advice given to me. We've all heard it, but reminding them, no matter how old no matter how long you've been married, no matter how old you are, you never stop dating your wife. Mm-hmm. Because you're never gonna get to the end of your life and go, well, I wish we hadn't have taken that trip to wherever.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right.
And what you're gonna say is, I wish we would have just went ahead and went.
Yeah.
Because we never got to go.
Yeah.
So it's more than, again, I know I keep saying this, but I want to make sure everybody out there that's listening understands that, especially the young men, yes, we are supposed to provide financially for our families. That is a huge part of it. I mean, there was a time when I was traveling, and I was part-time here at the church. I was pretty much part-time on the road with the strength team. So I was working that job, working this job, and I was cutting grass and doing things on the side, because that was my responsibility, was to make sure that my family was provided for. Mm-hmm. And we didn't have a lot, but we had what we needed. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. Provision doesn't, again, it doesn't require abundance. That's not what provision is.
Yeah.
So we just need to make sure that we're providing what is needed. Decide, again, it goes to what we talk about all the time. It goes to priorities. What's the most important thing you can provide? What's your main job in your family or in your marriage? Mm. And that's to take everybody in your family with you to heaven.
Yeah.
That's you provide. And I think we even said that on the last episode too, is we are, or maybe I just said it a few minutes ago, I don't remember. But we're supposed to be a picture of what God is. So, that's the main provision we need to have, is so our children can see what God is through what we do.
Yeah.
But so we have to be willing to provide all those things.
Yeah.
Not just a couple things here and there. And if all you're providing is financially, if that's all your provision is, then all you're doing is paying child support.
Oh yeah.
Am I wrong?
No, it's a good point though.
Am I wrong?
That's a good point.
If your only
though.
provision is finances, you're just paying child support.
You're doing no different than just child support.
Yeah.
No, you make a very good point.
Yeah, because ultimately you're absent other than the money.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And what I was going to say too is that, and a lot of this, in the ways that you provide, it's not like you're having to keep track of you did this today, you did that today, you did this today, you did that today. If you just live your life in the way that God designed it for it to be, just having good godly character, all that happens automatically.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry consciously, ooh, did I provide, a good example today? Ooh, did I provide my time today?
Or an example of patience, or an example of loving, or an example of compassion.
Right.
Or, all
just
those things.
Right. Just by feeding into the Spirit, by following Christ, by listening to all these different things, just living your life in the way that God designed for you to live. It happens automatically. It's second nature.
And setting an example for our faith. What is my father passed away when I was young, and I saw his walk in faith through his final days here on earth. And that was one of the biggest parts of my testimony, is his devotion to God and his willingness to kind of surrender to whatever God's will was, and his faith in his eternal life in heaven through his salvation, through Jesus. And how do we exemplify that for our kids? I always said that if there's one thing that I could do that my dad did, was to be a witness of faith like he was for me. Yeah. If I could do that for my kids, to show them what faith really looks like.
Right. But look at the value of character, though.
Yeah.
Because all these years later, it's still having such a profound effect.
Yeah. Right. I don't see my dad's money anymore that he provided for our family. Right. I see the emotional and spiritual support and example that he set for us.
Right. Yeah, over time you forget the things that the world emphasizes. Yeah. You remember the things that are important.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And the question is, how as men do we do that for our kids?
Yeah.
How do we, like I said, exemplify faith?
Yeah.
Or trust in God and some of those circumstances that kids might not even understand might not be a bad thing to bring them into and say, hey, this is what your mother and I are facing. This is what we're dealing with, or a diagnosis or something like that, to where some people might,
shy away from that,
caution on that because,
yeah.
they're too young or whatever. But what not better example or way to show them what a walk in faith looks like.
I'm going through a very hard time, but I'm trusting in the Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that comes down to like vulnerability too, just making yourself vulnerable to your own children.
Yeah.
You have to be that solid foundation, but there's a point in time where I think you can kind of bring down the wall and let them see that.
It's that transparency.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Put the parent in transparency.
Yeah, well, and we're supposed to be, as men, we've got to be, again, that picture of who God is, and God's going to provide. I say it all the time. God's going to provide you with what you need.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a genie in the bottle to provide you with all of your needs. I mean, all of your wants. Like, you don't get to rub the magic lamp of the Bible and go, all right, God, I need about $6,000.
Yeah, and that's even for your
I mean,
needs.
it would be great.
What a low ball. No.
But like even with your needs, it's not something that he just it takes effort. It takes.
Well, I mean, look at any time he provided anything in the Bible for somebody, there was an action required prior to it.
Yeah.
Right. So they're like, I'm going to provide this for you, but I need you to, or you need to do, So, it's not just a handout. It's God's providing for us what we need.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But sometimes oftentimes it takes work to get to that provision.
Yeah.
So, but I guess the biggest thing is I don't want anybody to get lost on the thought of provision or providing for your family or providing for your children and your that's only financially. Like, so a lot of, let's be honest, a lot of men, I'm sure you all know, I know, they think that's the only thing that they've done their job.
They have nothing else to offer other than that.
Yeah, their worth is their financial.
Yeah. Like, I did my job. You had everything you wanted. Yeah, but that wasn't the end of it. And a lot of men, unfortunately,
That opens up the door for a lot of destruction.
yeah,
Oh, I'm just going to hand over money and I've provided.
yeah, so let's certainly not limit ourselves to the only providing we need to do is financially, because there's much more
So
to
much
that.
more.
So we're supposed to, if you really, the most important thing you can provide is a godly example for your family. That's the biggest provision.
Yeah, and
you
like
can,
Jordan said, that all follows after you set that godly example.
if you can provide a godly example. For Karl's got a daughter, so the best thing he can do for his daughter is to provide an example of what her husband should be, right? So, it's and he said it on the last podcast. Basically, she's going to marry a mirror image of you, or or the complete opposite, because she does, when the example you're providing is chaos, she's gonna marry the exact opposite because she doesn't want to live in chaos, whatever it may be. But the biggest thing we can do, even as men within the church,
As odd as keep going.
No, I was just gonna say, as men in the church, we can provide an example to those young ladies that are in our church as to what a godly man should look like.
Yeah. As odd as it sounds, I think a lot of even in those chaotic relationships, they gravitate towards chaos.
Yeah.
Because it's like a comfort zone.
Yeah. And
as strange as that. I'm
yeah,
not a
no, most of the
psychologist,
time that's what it is.
Well, it's the normal.
Yeah.
Yeah. If
Right.
you're
Used to
normal as chaos,
Right.
That's what you gravitate toward.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it's. I think, like I said, I think the biggest thing we can provide, especially as godly men, if you want to be a godly man, provide a godly example for people to follow.
Yep.
And that's not just your family. That's everybody around. As you walk through life, everything you do in your workplace, and when you go to Walmart, and sometimes it's hard to be a godly example in Walmart.
One of the toughest things we have is our walk. Our walk with Christ is one of the hardest things that we have to do.
Yeah. When that old lady in Walmart bumps you in the back for the third time with her cart, it's hard to be a godly example in that moment, but that's what we're called to be. Provide a godly example.
I'm pretty in and out of that grocery store. There ain't very many people that keep up with my heels. I'm like, get what you need, and we're getting out of here.
Yeah, well,
I just want to look. No, we know what we need.
Yeah.
We get what we need, and we're out of here.
Yeah. The problem is a lot of times, I'm that way too. If I walk in on the grocery side, but if I happen to walk in on that sporting goods side,
You're done.
I've got to stop there and just I got to see what's on sale. You never know. There might be a crossbow on sale. There might be a fishing pole on sale. You never know. So you got to swing through there and just check it out. But for the most part, I'm the guy, go in, get what you need, get out. Like I don't want to do the window shopping and the walking around, especially it's about time. Yeah, it's October. So it's about time for all the snowbirds to come back. And I don't want to be in Walmart. Oof.
I'm so fixed on getting in and out. Like I'll go in and get out, and I'm like so proud of myself, like how fast I got in there and got out. And like when I get back to the vans, Kim's gonna be like, "Man, how'd you get all that stuff so fast?" And I sit down. There's a true story. I sat down in the driver's seat. She goes, "What about the box?" The whole reason we needed like a cardboard box, the whole reason why I went there was to get a box, and I was so worried about getting everything so fast, I completely forgot the whole reason why I was there.
So what did you get?
Just little miscellaneous stuff that was like not the real reason why we needed to be there, but things.
Got you. I was like, that's a wild story.
So
we went
Karl
here for
grabbed
one
the
reason.
outliers and forgot the main
thing.
Stay focused on the main thing. Yeah.
But no, I mean it's that. I think that's our biggest role is if you want to be a godly man, and is to provide an example, to provide and be a role model of what a godly man looks like.
Yeah.
That's more important than the finance part of it, because I would rather the people that I influence be better off when I left as people than better off when I left financially.
Yeah.
That's not that I don't want them to be provided for financially, but if I have to choose between the two, I would rather them be better off as people, be better off as godly people and godly young men, especially my boys, godly young men, than I am, it's that old saying, money, people say, well, money buys happiness. No, I don't. Yeah. Phil Robertson used to say, I love it when he say it, because, a lot of times it's easy for those people that have, not to say that he didn't work his tail off, but got what he got and has as much money as he had. He said, the only thing that changed when we got money from the show was the menu got better. Nothing else changed.
Yeah.
So he said, we went from eating nothing but fish that we caught in the river to eating ribeye steaks. So the menu got a little better, but that's all that changed. And that's true. I mean, that's what it has to be. No matter what happens in our life, it doesn't change who we are.
Yeah.
And so many people are so focused on providing the wrong thing. They're so singularly focused on that word. They have the wrong idea of what that word provider means. So which actually, talking about provider, will bring us into our next one.
Transition.
Transition. You like that transition? You like that? So we are to provide. Hey, look, listen.
We're getting tired.
My brain's getting tired.
Oh my gosh.
We are supposed to provide protection. So the other characteristic is we're supposed to be a protector. Now, with that said, what does protector mean? Like, what are we protecting? Well, we're supposed to protect our family, but a lot of people, again, just kind of like when I said you're supposed to be a provider, everybody immediately went to finances. Probably when I said the word you're supposed to be a provider, everybody went to I'm going to get my gun and protect my family, which is a part of it. And there's nothing wrong with that.
But you've got life and limb.
Yeah.
You've got essentials. You've got homesteads. There's a spiritual protector of what Satan might throw at your family.
Yeah, and we are absolutely. I see a lot of people. I think have the wrong thought when it comes to being a Christian, that they can't protect their family in that way. It's like they'll out of context say, "Well, Jesus said turn the other cheek." Well, when you really look at what it meant to turn the other cheek, when it was said in the historical context, was you turn the other cheek. It meant you didn't react in violence, but you also stood your ground. It didn't mean you couldn't protect yourself. It meant basically, it's like you get slapped and you basically just look at them. I don't know about you, but if I slap somebody and they just stop and look at me like it didn't even hurt, that's probably going to worry me more than the guy that tries to swing at me.
Right. Oh yeah, for sure. If someone, if I see someone get slapped and they literally just turn to the other side, That's a whole nother level of macho that I wasn't prepared for. You know,
like basically you slap somebody and they turn and look at you and go, "That all you got?"
Yeah,
Here's
exactly.
the other side.
Exactly.
Which
100%.
one speaks more?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because the dude,
The amount of
just
intimidation that
the
just
dude
happened.
that doesn't even speak and just
Yeah.
looks at me after I slapped him scares me more than the dude that wants to fight me.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, don't get me wrong. If you slap me,
I'll probably punch you.
I am going to slap you back. But
Let's try it.
go ahead. Let's see what happens.
There'll be a bonus episode after.
And we'll video that.
With video.
You're gonna watch either me or Karl go through the door.
But no, I mean, but we are supposed to be a protector. And in that way as well, physically, we're supposed to protect our families, and we're supposed to protect our loved ones and the people around us. And we're supposed to protect them. We have those people in our church during our service that are protecting the people of the church, because that's what we've been charged to do, is protect the church. And a lot of people say, well, that's wrong. Well, there's a verse in Nehemiah where, if you don't know much about Nehemiah, Nehemiah was tasked by God with rebuilding the wall around Jerusalem, and he goes back and he does it, and he does it in record time. But there was a lot of things going on. There was a lot of enemies to the Israelites, to the Jews back then, and Nehemiah is tasked with building this wall in the midst of people pretty much still trying to take out Israel. But in Nehemiah 4, verse 14, Nehemiah writes this. He says, "After I made an inspection," now they're building the wall, and Nehemiah was kind of overseeing it all. So he writes in verse 14, he says, "After I made an inspection, I stood up and said to the nobles, the officials, and the rest of the people." So I'm not sure why he kind of broke it down when he could have just said, "and said to everyone." But anyway, he broke it down, and he says to the nobles, to the officials, and to the rest of the people, don't be afraid of them. Right? There's people that are coming. They're going to try to take them out. Still, he says, remember the great and awe-inspiring Lord, and fight for your countrymen, your sons and daughters, your wives and homes. So that's Nehemiah getting a word from God that he's now giving to the people, saying, fight for your countrymen. In other words, protect your country, protect your wives, protect your household, protect your homes.
Yeah.
So there's nothing in the Bible that I can find that says you're not allowed to protect your home. Matter of fact, the next section in Nehemiah, starting in verse 15, Nehemiah actually has half the men working and half the men standing guard, and then they switch. But even the men that are working with one hand with a sword in the other hand.
I mean, and just contextually what's happening there too, and this is what's application for us today, they're protecting what God gave them.
Right.
It's okay to take care of, protect, defend what blessings God has given you.
Right.
If that's your home, it's your home. Your family, that's your family. All these different things. If God blessed you with it, I'm fairly positive he'd be okay with you, keeping it safe.
There's a huge, I thought about this as I was reading. There is a huge difference between protection and retaliation.
Yes.
Right? So if I'm protecting, if somebody's breaking into my house, I promise you I'm going to protect my family, because I don't know what that person is doing coming in my house. They may have all the best intentions in the world, but if you got good intentions and you're coming into my house unannounced, you better be very careful.
Yeah.
Because most people that are coming into your home unannounced don't have good intentions, so I'm going to protect my family. Now, if somebody breaks into my house when I'm not home and steals all my stuff, and then when I get home I find out who it was, and I go down the road and I beat the snot out of them, well, that's not okay.
Right.
That's not protecting your family.
That's a very different.
That's retaliating. So we need to make sure we don't get those two things confused. I said infused, didn't I? Get those two things confused, because there's a big difference between retaliation and protection.
Yeah.
But I mean, think about how many movies, and I like them all, that are all about the main action star chasing down somebody that did his family wrong, and we all like to say, boy, if somebody did that to my family, I'd do the same thing. Well, I don't think we're supposed to do that, but they make for great movies.
Yeah.
They make for a real good movie.
in Luke 22:36 through 38, it's, when Jesus is telling his disciples, take your money, if you don't have a sword, sell your garments, and it was implying that there will be trials, tribulations coming your way, and then that it was implied for self-protection.
Right.
He said to them, "But now, if you have a purse, take it, and also a bag, and if you don't have a sword, sell your cloak and buy one. It is written, and he was numbered with the transgressors. And I tell you that this must be fulfilled in me. Yes, what is written about me is reaching its fulfillment." So it's him saying, it's almost finished, and then you're going to have transgressors, and that you need to have a sword ready for that.
Well, and not only that, even in that he was foreshadowing, he was prophesying about what was going to happen, I don't know, probably 20 years, 30 years later, 40 years later, in AD 70, when Rome came in and completely sacked it. I mean, and it was bad. So in other words, he was saying you're going to need a sword to protect you're going to lose, but you're going to need a sword.
Yeah.
And so again, that goes to show you, even Jesus saying there to sell your cloak to buy a sword and protect yourself.
Yeah.
It's okay I used to tell my kids all the time, you are never allowed to start a fight.
Yeah.
But if somebody starts one, you can finish it.
Yeah.
If I get a phone call and you were protecting yourself, you're never going to get in trouble for that.
Yeah.
But if I get a phone call and you started it, we're going to have a problem.
Yeah.
Because there's a huge difference in that. And we're supposed to protect our families. We're supposed to protect not only our families physically, but I think, like we said earlier when we were talking about providing, we're supposed to provide an example. I think that's the most important thing. I think more than anything, if we're protecting, we need to protect our family's integrity. Mm-hmm. And not only our family's integrity, but to protect the integrity in the name of God. If we're going to call ourselves Christians, then we need to act like it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there's a lot of people. I mean, think about some of these athletes and some of these movie stars and celebrities that call themselves Christians, right? And they'll thank God in a speech, but then 3 days later you'll see that they're, whatever they got in trouble for, whatever it is. Not to say that we can't all make a mistake.
Not Christ-like behavior.
Right. Whatever. And not to say that we don't all make mistakes, because we do. I mean, doesn't matter if you're a celebrity or a garbage man. Mm-hmm. No matter what your profession is, no matter what stage of life you're in, whether you're male or female, right? Whether you're a husband or a wife, we are all called to protect the integrity of God's name. Yeah. But as men, we're supposed to lead our families, and really as men, we should be leading society in protecting God's integrity and God's name. That's what we're called to do. I think that's the most important thing we can protect, is the integrity that comes along with the name of God.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just like that scripture that said, if you don't, you're just as bad as an unbeliever. I mean, what not worse way to serve God than one, not serving Him at all, but to serve Him in a manner that retracts others, that draws them away from the faith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were talking about providing, like what God blesses us with and things that He's given, and that is just. I saw a verse, Genesis 2:15, and it talks about how the Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and take care of it. Mm-hmm. So even the earth, even the earth and the stewardship of it is our responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when we talk about this is 1 Peter 3:7. It says, husbands. Now, obviously, this is talking to men. So, husbands, in the same way, live with your wives in an understanding way, as with a weaker partner. Now, hold on, let me stop, because there's going to be some women that just got mad. Some women just slammed on the brakes and threw something. I'm not weak. Nobody's saying that you are. But let's be honest, even in this day and time that we live in, men are just, as a whole, naturally physically stronger.
Yeah, with that,
because we're made that way. We were God made us that way.
Was it anatomically, like you
Yeah,
know, the way that I can look at my children, and the boys are getting wider chest and pectoral muscles and things like that, and like you can just see the development in a boy to a man versus a girl to a woman, like
Yeah, I mean,
it's nothing that is done outwardly. It's all by design.
Right, it's by design. I mean, and look, let's be honest. For some reason in our day and time, people like to talk about the fact that Christians want to deny science and this, that, and the other. Biology tells us that there are two types of people in this world, male and female, even though in our society today, people say, well, that's not necessarily true. No, that is, I don't care. I don't care. It is an objective truth. You are either a male,
Yeah, if you get a scientific,
or you are female.
A scientific purist will defend that night and day.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the problem is, if you take a 5-year-old male and a 5-year-old female, and you put them together, and they get in a fight, even though the 5-year-old female, let's be honest, she's going to be meaner probably.
So she could scrap.
Yeah. But if you put them in a physical whatever it is, the male is going to win, because that's just, we're designed that way.
In a good way.
In a good way.
In a good
right.
way.
And it's not, and that's what I'm saying. Unfortunately, people will hear that, especially some ladies will hear that, and they'll take it in a bad way.
Because there's so many things that drives them and conditions them for that men just aren't conditioned for.
Right.
And aren't meant to withhold
And
or
it's
withstand.
it's the connotation of that word weaker.
Right.
Yeah.
That's not, let's not take it the way that,
Defensively.
the way that, well, not even that, but the way that our society defines the word weak.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because even the I guess if it's defended upon that statement, it's with the false understanding of what society
Right.
has kind of labeled that as.
Yeah.
Yeah, weak
Not
doesn't.
the reality of it.
Yeah, weak doesn't have to be a bad thing.
Yeah.
Like you put me and Zeb next to each other, I am weaker.
Right.
Between the two of us, like that's not a bad thing.
Physically,
But-
yes.
Physically, I am
In
weaker.
other ways, no.
But,
right.
But when the ductwork underneath the house needs to be fixed, guess who's going under there?
Yeah,
You.
the thinner one.
'Cause you're
Yeah,
so-
Smaller one, yeah.
You have your time
Yeah.
and place.
right. You have your place, Jordan.
Yeah,
but like
Like I said,
going back to the science thing, like you'll be surprised, or I say you, just general, like Christianity, our faith agrees more with science than most of the world at this point.
Yes.
Like realistically, like point blank, no matter how you look at it, like science doesn't disagree with our faith. It's just people who are against our faith say that it does, and they'll pull one thing out of the
use
other
it as a leverage.
for the right. Exactly. Like look what they think, blah blah blah. And it's like no, like just use your mind.
Science actually points to faith.
Right. Exactly.
Or actually, we're not even going to say faith, because science is something that's observable and repeatable, right? So you don't have to take science on faith. Science points to the fact that what we believe to be true is actually true.
Yeah.
Right? That there is an objective truth. Not all truth is subjective.
Yeah.
Not all, gender is not subjective. No, it's
Order.
not so. It is objective.
Order,
You're either a
intelligent
male.
design, all
Yeah,
that.
all of that. So I'm not going to get too deep into that, but my
So
point
that's
is,
a whole other
that's
episode.
But I don't want anybody to think, because a lot of women just got mad at me because I read that. Now again, you don't get mad at me. I didn't write that. All right, Peter wrote that. You can take that up with him when you get there. And you can take it up with God because God told him to write it. So, but it says, husbands, in the same way, live with your wives in an understanding way, as with a weaker partner, showing them. And this is one of those contradictions to when people say the Bible is anti-woman right here. It says showing them honor as co-heirs of the grace of life, so that your prayers will not be hindered. Right? So if you're not treating your wife and honoring your wife the way you're supposed to, then your prayers are going to be hindered, because you're not being the example. You're not providing, and you're not protecting the integrity of what it is that we've been called to be.
Yes.
So
The design of it.
right, exactly. And then if you go to Ephesians, I should have marked all these instead of flipping through them and trying to find them as I go, but Ephesians chapter 5, and most, I think most people that if they've been in church there, for a long time, they've read most of these verses that we're reading. Verses 25 through 28, it says this: And this is talking to husbands. It says, husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church and gave himself for her, to make her holy, cleansing her with the washing of water by the word. He did this to present the church to himself in splendor, without spot or wrinkle or anything like that, but holy and blameless. In the same way, husbands are to love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. But, it says right there, it says, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself for her. How many times have we heard guys say, oh, I'd die for my wife? Really? Because you won't even get up early enough to come to church with her.
Oh, yeah. Wow, that slaps.
No, but I mean, for real.
It's true.
Like, oh, I'd die for my wife. Really? Because she wants you to go to church with her and you won't even get up.
Right.
I mean, how many wives do we see, unfortunately? Look, if you're upset with me, I don't care. Number one, if y'all go to our church, I have an honesty problem.
Yeah.
But let's be honest. How many do we see, not just in our church, just in general, that is not right, but the wife or the mother is the spiritual leader in the house? And it is not supposed to be that way.
Yeah.
We are called to be the spiritual leader in the house. And I'm not trying to beat up on guys by any stretch of the imagination.
Just calling out the responsibility.
I'll say it's just a course correction. It's the reality.
I mean, that's what God calls to be. But guys will say, I would die for my wife.
Right.
Would you?
Yeah.
Like, because you're not even willing to give up sleep.
Yeah.
You're not willing to give up, this or give up that. But you're going to say you're willing to die for her?
Yeah.
Or if that time arose on the way to church, you wouldn't even be there.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, or on the way to whatever. I had a friend that, and it was completely wrong, but it was just hilarious. He has a picture of his son getting ready to leave the house, or his wife took the picture. His son's getting ready to leave the house to go to his first football game. Right? First football game he's ever played in middle school. And we kind of made a joke out of the picture, but I'm like, it's kind of sad, actually. But his wife takes the picture of her son in his uniform standing in the driveway. Behind him is my friend, who's his dad, her husband, in his camouflage with his bow, walking to his truck because he's going hunting while his son's going to play football. And we joked about it because it was like, that's kind of funny, right? But the other side of it is, he said, I hate that picture because I didn't do what I should have done.
Yeah, it's literally proof
Yeah,
that
he
you
said-
weren't there for your kid.
You're right. He said, I hate that picture. He said,
Convicting
I make
picture.
jokes of it about it now. He said, but that picture made me stop and go, okay, look,
There's
you
more
guys
there.
know, and anybody that knows me knows, I love going hunting.
Yeah.
And I love going fishing.
Yeah.
But I didn't get to go hunting for probably about 4 or 5 years because Logan and Kyler played football and played baseball, and I just didn't get to do it because that was more important.
Right.
I mean, I would get to go here and there, but not like I do now where they're both grown. I'm just look at Crystal and go, do you care? She says, I don't care. Get out. So I leave. No, I'm just kidding. She doesn't say that. She probably thinks it, but she doesn't say it out loud. But
it's the priorities.
right,
Yeah.
right, and that's the we kind of made a joke about it, but it's also he realized the folly of what he had done.
Right.
Because he put that above. So his son had the picture of, well, that's more important to dad than I am.
Yeah.
Well,
it's
and I was going to say, and in the picture, if you just see that picture and you don't know them, he got it. Like his son didn't care,
Sure.
even a little bit.
Sure.
But in his mind, even in his mind, he was like, yeah, that's not right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the Christ-like mentality of, he didn't want to die, but he did because he loved us. He sacrificed because he loved us.
To
We
protect
can
us.
to protect us. We can give up something we love
Right.
for the sake of our kids and our family because we love them. We want to protect their hearts, their minds, be present with them. All these different things. It
Yeah.
all flows together.
Well, and that's and what we need to understand is what Paul's saying even here in Ephesians. He says that we just read. He says the reason that you are that you love your wives and give yourself up for your wife is to make her holy, cleansing her with the washing of water by the word.
Mm-hmm.
So how are you going to do that if you're not
In the Word.
in the word?
Yeah.
And you're doing those things because you're setting her apart by the things that you do. So when men think that they don't have a role, right? When men think that their only role is to provide financially and to protect them if somebody breaks in the house. Like, no, that it's more than that.
Way more.
Way more than that.
Well, our home is our mission field. Like you said, your
That's
job
the
is to
number
make sure
one
everybody in that
mission
house
field.
is going to heaven with you.
Yep.
And yeah.
Yep. So, guys that are out there, provide for your family, but more than anything, provide an example of who God is through what you do, and protect your family. Protect not just your family, protect your loved ones, protect those that need protecting, and more than anything, protect the integrity of the name of God as you go through your life. I used to tell my boys, both my boys, a lot of times, I didn't say it every time, but a lot of times when they would go to leave, to go to homecoming or prom or, one of those things where we know things can get, when they would go to walk out the door, I'd look at them and I go, remember whose last name you have.
Yeah.
In other words, what I was saying is protect my name that I've built in this community. I need you to help me protect my name. And that's the same thing that God says to us. As we go to walk out the door in the morning, remember whose name you carry with you.
With more emphasis on it too.
Yeah. Protect. Not that he needs us to protect his name, but protect my name.
Yep.
So make sure we need to make sure that we're protecting the integrity of not only our family and our name, but of the name of our Creator.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's what it is. You got to be. I guess if let's say we can review the three P's: a provider, a protector, and be present.
Be present.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Those are three characteristics of a godly man. And listen, I don't remember if I said it here or we've talked so much, but none of us are ever going to be all of these things all of the time.
Yeah.
But our goal is to, as much as possible,
Absolutely.
be all of these things all of the time.
Yeah.
So we'll come back on the next episode with I know we got at least one more P.
Potentially two more.
Possibly another one.
Let's see what we can.
It was
press
actually,
through.
Yeah.
I know they all start with the letter P, but it was kind of an accident, really.
Yeah.
So,
But now that it is, you almost have to go.
now
with
that it is, we
Yeah,
almost
yeah.
got to keep that alliteration.
We dug a
going.
hole.
Yeah.
We're going in it.
So, yeah, we dug a hole. Now we got to live with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
We made our bed. Now we got to sleep in it. So, but I'm gonna go ahead and close. Actually, I'm gonna get Karl to go ahead and close us out in prayer, and then we will see you guys on the next episode. Thank you again for joining us and tuning in. Make sure that you share with us your thoughts. You can share those thoughts down in the comments, and then share with other people. Listen, we ain't making no money off of this, so but we want we want to get God's word out to as many people as we possibly can. That's the whole goal.
Yep.
So. And this is an easy way for you to step out and go, hey, check this out. And you don't even have to be. They can get mad at me and Karl and Jordan. They won't get mad at you. So they can get mad at what we said if they don't like it. So, but all right, we're gonna go ahead and Karl's gonna close us out in prayer, and we will catch you guys again. I thought about this the other day, guys. I was gonna do it on the last episode, but I didn't do it. I listen to Unashamed podcasts all the time, and Al's kind of like the guy that moderates everything. The older used to be beardless brother, and he says all the time, and I thought about it, I was like, man, that's a great, but he always ends the podcast with, hey, we'll try to do better next time. Right? And no, he said, and I actually thought about it because he says that, he said he ends every one of his sermons that way too. He says, I'll try to do better next time.
Incredible.
But
Incredible.
hey, if we're not getting better, we're just sitting still, right?
It's true.
So,
Yeah.
but thank you guys so much for listening to us. I'm going to go ahead and let Karl close us out in prayer, and we'll catch y'all again on the next episode.
Okay, let's pray. Dear Lord Jesus, Heavenly Father, Lord, I just thank you so much for today. We thank you for this beautiful weather you blessed us with lately. We thank you for the opportunity to do this podcast and to give us the supplies and the materials, Lord, to make that happen. I just pray that through it, Lord, that we just bring honor and glory to you in your name. And Lord, I just pray as men, Lord, that you just give us the obedience, the boldness, and the courage, and be courageous in being protectors, and being providers, and being present for our families. And Lord, I just pray that you just put that on our hearts to be the witness that you've called us to be. And Lord, be the witness to our families and everyone around us. And we just do thank you. We love you. We pray and ask all this in your name, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.